Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Knit California podcast. My name is Leslie. I'm known as Knit California here on YouTube and also on Instagram, and this is episode number 12. Today we are going to be talking about my fall knitting plans. If you watched a couple videos back, I did a whole video showing what patterns I'm going to be making this fall and winter. I showed you my yarn cubby right here with all of my yarns that I'm going to be using for my fall and winter patterns. And even though it is 100 degrees out today, oh, sorry, it says 93 right now. It's still really hot. It still feels like summer. We are hydrating instead of drinking tea, chai lattes, coffee. But fall knitting has officially started over here at Knit California headquarters, aka my house. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I want to show you some of the progress that I've made, as well as talk about any thoughts that have come up about my current project list. So we can start actually with what I'm wearing. I showed this off on one of the previous podcast episodes, but this is my cottagecore crop by Mezzo Makes, and the yarn that I used is Sorella yarn, Sleeping Beauty's Castle. It was from the Disneyland collection originally. I think I got it in Greatest Hits. And this is on the Stellina base, so I don't think you can really see it, but like if you look close enough, that little like gold thread of Stellina is like running through all of the stitches, and when I go out in the sun it just shines and glistens and it's really cute and I love it. This was one of the patterns that I made earlier this spring. I had a fantastic time making it. I lengthened the body a little bit from what was in the pattern. I think I added an extra 2 inches, but all of the details are on my Ravelry, which is always linked below if you are interested. And I love this top. It's very fun. It's very cute. So, okay, so the first sweater that I talked about in my fall knitting plans video was the Oslo Sweater by Petite Knit. And I am happy to report that not only have I cast it on, we're not finished, so don't get too ahead of yourself, but we have made some serious progress on this. Dun da da! Look at it! Today, in fact, I joined it in the round a mere couple hours ago while I was on a work phone call. But the yarn that I'm using for this, I have some extra up here, so let me grab it and show you. This is Sorella yarn. Here we go. The colorway is called Folklore. This was from the Taylor Swift collection, and I'm using 1 strand of Stellina sock held together with 1 strand of mohair. And you can see this is like just such a pretty like light purple, light lavender, really pale purple color that I love. I'm like really into the purples right now, and it's turning out so well, so nicely. Gotta show you the front. Okay, nope, that's the back. I had it right. I had it right. But there we go. So this is a drop sweater construction, the Oslo Sweater. So I did, if you remember, I had 3 drop shoulder sweaters on my fall and winter knitting plans list, and 3 raglans. And I said this is the first sweater that I wanted to cast on, and it is. It is a drop shoulder, and I am really happy with it so far. So a few things. I think the construction of drop shoulders is really, really fun. It does include purling because the first kind of 3 steps you are knitting back and forth instead of knitting in the round. And I found that that's pretty consistent for kind of this type of construction that I've done in the past. So I don't even know if you'll be able to see it. You probably can. But so this is the back. And you start with this first panel here. Right here, there's a seam. So you cast on right here at the neck, and you start increasing, and you make this like back panel, okay? And then what you do is you pick up stitches right along this like diagonal, and then you knit back and forth to make the like shoulder. So this is the piece that's gonna come kind of like starts back here, and you're knitting over until you basically knit until you want to like connect across. So you do that on both sides, and then you can see you connect right here in the front. This is where you add new stitches right here to connect them, and then eventually you connect the front and the back panel to start knitting in the round. And that's where I just got to today. So really, really excited about that. The body I feel like is just gonna fly now that I'm knitting in the round. Yeah, I do want to talk about this yarn combination. So I've gotten a few questions about the Stellina yarn. This is from Sorella, like I mentioned. A few people have asked me if, since there is this gold kind of, it's a nylon. Oh no. This yarn itself is 75-25, so 75% wool, 20% nylon, 75% superwash merino wool. It just says SWM, and I was trying to figure out what that was. 75% superwash merino wool, 20% nylon, and 5% gold Stellina. The question was, is the gold Stellina itchy? Can you feel it? And the answer is no. You cannot feel this at all. This is like a very, very soft skein. It feels exactly the same pretty much as just superwash merino and nylon. You can't even tell that it's there. The other question I was getting is, since I'm pairing this with mohair, like, is the mohair covering up the Stellina? Is it even worth it to use a Stellina and a mohair paired together? And to be honest, I had no idea before I did this pairing. I remember when I bought the yarn, I was like, I just want to try it. I think I had started knitting with this, or maybe I had seen it somewhere else. I think actually I bought these two around the same time. I don't fully remember. I had to have. These are both greatest hits. Yeah. They were both greatest hits. So I bought these at the same time, and I think I was just like in a Stellina mood. I was like, I want everything to be Stellina. That's how I get. I was in a Stellina mood. I've been in a mohair mood. I'm in a purple mood now. So, although I guess I've been in a purple mood all year if I bought these at the same time. But anyways, I was like, I'm just gonna try it. I think I read on Sorella's page at one point, she said, you probably don't want to mix these together because the mohair will cover up the like gold Stellina thread. But I was like, I'm gonna try it. I want to see what it looks like. And I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I'm really happy with how this is turning out. I think you can still see the gold Stellina, I would say not as much as you can on like the cottagecore crop that I'm wearing now, but it's definitely still there. And I think when I take this out in the sun, I think it'll still shine, it'll still sparkle, and you'll still be able to see it. I have to say the fabric that this is making is incredibly light and airy and fluffy, and I absolutely love it. So the recommended needle size for this pattern was a 4.5 millimeter, and I swatched. I thought I was going to need to go up to a 5, so I started with a 5, and my gauge was too big, so I guess too small. My gauge was too small. I had not enough stitches, so I went back down to the recommended needle size. I'm using a 4.5 millimeter needle, Yep, double check. Yep. And it's perfect. It's like the stitches are like not super tight together. There's like a little bit of wiggle room in there, and I know when I eventually block this, they're just gonna like bloom and grow and like fill in those little gaps. And like this is incredibly light for being the full like top of a sweater, so I'm really happy with it so far. Yay. The other piece that I wanted to show you is, I don't know if you can see, I hope you can't because that would actually be good, but I knit the back panel and the pieces that come over the shoulders in one skein of yarn. And then when I connected the front pieces together here, I added in another skein to start alternating skeins. And when I look at this in person, I feel like I can tell where that is, where I added in the second skein, but I'm not sure if you can tell on camera. You'll have to let me know. I can't see it from here in the viewfinder, but I'm just wondering if it's because like the viewfinder is really small. But I figured since I made the moonset tee recently and I used Sorella yarn tonals, and there was like a major difference between two of the skeins, like it's very, very noticeable. I didn't want that to happen with this, so I wanted to start alternating skeins relatively early in the project. I feel like, I was gonna say mohair, but it's a dog hair. I feel like I should have started alternating skeins really when I picked up the stitches here and gone over the shoulders, so that it was like all the front was alternating skeins. But I didn't do that. I didn't realize and like remember that I wanted to do this until I connected the front, and then I was like, oh shoot, let me start that now. So that's why I didn't do it earlier. But I just wanted this to be as good as possible. So that's what I'm doing. And you might be thinking to yourself, Leslie, you just said you were holding stellina and mohair together in one strand, and now you're alternating skeins. Isn't that 4 balls of yarn to keep track of? And yes and no, yes and no. So the first skein, I have 2 separate balls because I didn't wind them together. But the second skein, look how massive this is. I wound the 2 strands together. So I don't know if you can see. They're both coming off of this one skein. So, and I posted a photo of this on Instagram, and there were a lot of people that were like, wow, I've never thought of that. And I have to say, I have seen a lot of people on Instagram do this, so this was the first time I've ever done it, but I'm surprised that other people maybe haven't seen this before, when I have definitely seen it before. But what I did essentially was I wound both skeins separately. So I had 2 balls. One was one of the stellina and one of the mohair. And then I put these in 2 separate shoe boxes on the ground, on the floor. You can see my winder is right here. So they were on the floor, and then I wound them together. I just had to make sure I was like keeping really good tension on both of the yarns, so that I think one of the worries is, I was talking to one of my friends like after I showed it, one of the worries is that like the tension of both of the yarns aren't going to be the same. Wool has more of an elasticity compared to mohair, so it's something to watch out for. I have not had any issues yet, but we will see as we get farther into this skein. And I have to say, it's massive. Like, this is this is literally the size of my head. Peekaboo. And it was bigger because I've like used a little bit of it now, so it was probably like a little bit bigger too to start with. So yeah, and it's like super fuzzy. I don't know, can you see the like halo coming off of this? It's so fuzzy, but it's working pretty well right now. So I am juggling 3 balls of yarn, but when I finish these 2, what I will do is I will skein these 2 up, or wind these 2 up together, and start alternating with these. So I'm kind of like staggering my new skeins in, which I think is good. So there won't be like super dramatic color changes, at least on the front. If there's on the back, that's fine. But I'm still, well, yeah, I'm still alternating skeins. Now we're going in the round, so everything is whatever, it's in the round. But yeah, and then I'll only have 2 skeins to juggle, just 2 massive skeins to juggle, which is kind of fun. I don't know, I've never had a skein of yarn this big. It's like really large. So anyways, that's how I'm doing it. And that's my Oslo sweater. So we're gonna finish the body, we'll pick up the neckline, we'll do the sleeves, and that'll be it. I mean, this will definitely take a few more weeks, but I'm really happy with the progress of it so far, and it's looking really good. So yay, love it. Sweater number 1 is on its way. Okay, I know, I shouldn't sing. You don't need to tell me that. I already know. Okay. The next thing I want to show you, again, if you remember in my video, I was trying to decide between casting on the Oslo sweater or casting on the champagne cardigan, which I would like to make because I would like to wear to work because the office is very cold all the time. And I kind of decided I was going to cast them both on at the same time, and I did. This has far less progress. I'm sure you can guess why. Actually, there's multiple reasons, but here we go. Here's my little semicircle worm of my champagne cardigan. This champagne cardigan is by Petite Knit. Okay, the yarn that I'm using is Sandnes Garn Double Sunday in the color Sailor in the Dark, and I'm holding it double with Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the color Midnight. Remember, this has a Taylor Swift theme, Midnight album coming out October 21st. We're very excited about it. Okay. Yeah, this, I have to say, this yarn is way thicker than I thought it was going to be. But I guess that's actually good. I can like kind of see my stitches if I'm knitting in the light, because this is black yarn, so that's a positive. But I've got a ton of stitch markers on here because that's what you need when you're knitting a cardigan back and forth. I've also got one of my row counters on here from Twice You're Cheap, affiliate link in bio if you're interested. I'm considering getting, they have odd and even row counters that are meant for flat knitting. So I think I'm gonna purchase a set of those to try on this cardigan. Because as I was doing the short row shaping, I was like, oh, this is kind of annoying because like the short rows don't come all the way out to the end where my row counter is. So I just had to make sure I was doing the correct number of rows, which I think we did. But cardigans, and I guess like raglans, because this is like a raglan cardigan, there's just a lot more to keep track of because you have to figure out when you're increasing. If it was a round sweater, the increases would be I think, a little bit more standardized, like every other round. On a cardigan it's different because you've got like your raglan increases, and then you also have the increases in the front here on this side of like this very first stitch marker where you're making like, you know, this piece that comes in right here, the neckline, that's what it's called. And so it's just a lot more to think about. And at my knitting time recently, since I've cast this on, I've really been leaning towards and like grabbing either my Oslo sweater or my other whip, just because they're both like straight stockinette, so either straight knitting or knitting and purling, which is like much easier than thinking about increases and like constantly reading the instructions. So that's why there hasn't been much progress on this, but I don't know, we'll see. I was thinking I could, you know, I was really hoping that I would like want to knit on this at the same time as knitting on my Oslo sweater, but I feel like my Oslo sweater is really, at least where I am right now, just like taking priority. Like that's kind of the only thing I want to work on. I just love the feel of the stitches as I'm knitting them. I love the yarn, I love the color. It's now straight in the round, so that's also very appealing. Whereas this is just a little bit more complicated. So if there is a day where I'm like wanting to use my brain while I'm knitting, this is definitely the project that I will grab for. But that hasn't happened in the last couple of days, so that's why we're just straight right here. So when I do pick this up, I think it will be relatively quick, at least once I get to the, you know, the straight body, because these stitches are huge. Like I said, I'm knitting this on a 5.5 millimeter needle. So that's large. That is, if you have a ChiaoGoo knitting set, that's on the large side of the cords instead of the small side of the cords. And I haven't done a project with the large cords in a while, a long while. So it's kind of exciting. So anyway, project number 2. Yay! Okay. And to be honest, I only have one more project. You have seen this, actually, now that I recall. And this is my final project that I said I was going to cast on, and I did cast on. And it's my Oslo hat. When you last saw this, I believe I was still knitting the folded band. And where we are since then, I'm actually gonna, this is a really interesting knit if you've never knit the Oslo hat. It's got a really, really fun, kind of cool construction. Where we are now is we are way past the folded brim. But basically what you do is you knit the brim, and then you knit it together to fold it up. And then there's actually a couple more rows where you can see you like knit in stockinette, and then you do like one German short row wrap and turn to start knitting it on this side. And so it looks like this. And this is so that when you fold it, you fold the brim up, right? If there's any, I don't even know how to show this. If the fold like goes too far and you start to see like any of the underneath, it's in the knit stitch instead of in the purl stitch. So that's why you do it that way. And then you'll see, like as you're knitting here, again, it's all the knit stitch. So really cool construction. I'm loving this. I should have said, this is the Oslo hat by Petite Knit. We've got a pattern going here. If you can't tell, all of these patterns are Petite Knit patterns. So the Oslo hat, not to be confused with the Oslo sweater, in very similar colors. But the yarn that I'm using for this is Explore Knits and Fibers. The colorway is Woodruff, and this is her Cashmere Caverns sock base. So it's really soft. And you hold 2 skeins double. So I guess you could do this with DK, but the pattern calls for 2 skeins held together. So that's what we're doing. And again, this is like a purpley mauve. It's got some like brown undertones in it. Again, we're in our purple phase here, and I love it. This is the project that I have been taking to work. I have worked on it once, maybe twice, in the office. The one time that I remember, I was in like an HR info meeting, so I just had to listen, and it really helps me just like stay focused and actually listening to the meeting. Otherwise I might be on my phone not paying attention. So that's where I am. I'm gonna put a stitch marker in. Let me see. Here it is. Here's my little sun. I'm gonna put a stitch marker in to remind myself of where I am now on all of these projects. Actually, I think I'll do that. From today's podcast, so that when we talk next, whether that's next week or the week after, you'll be able to see my progress from today's episode. So that'll be kind of fun. But there we go. All 3 projects. Once I finish this Oslo hat, I am going to cast on a second one. And I think I'm gonna go for one of my gifts. This is gonna be I'm gonna make this in a child size, and I'm really excited to see it in these colors knit up. I asked, when I was first casting this on, I posted a photo on Instagram of like all the Oslo hat colors yarn that I have, and I asked people to vote like which one should I cast on first, and then I did not go with anyone's suggestion, but this is the top voted yarn combo, so I'll do this one next, and I think it'll be really cute. So yay, stay tuned for that. And when I finish my Oslo sweater, I haven't decided fully what my next cast on is going to be. I think it's going to be the Semper sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl, which I think I decided to do in this DK long dog yarn, rosewood. I'll definitely need to swatch and make sure this meets gauge. The Semper sweater pattern is officially live. You can purchase it now on Ravelry, and it comes with like a 26-page, I think, guide on yarn suggestions. Sophie from the Knit Pearl Girl is just like the absolute best. This is a very classically raglan shaped sweater design. So if you have never knit a sweater before, and you are interested in knitting a sweater, I'm 99.9% sure this would be my recommendation to you. Again, a 26-page yarn guide. It talks about gauge, it talks about different yarns and their price points and options. The pattern is meant for a fingering weight yarn held with a mohair, so she talks through a bunch of different options of those together. I think she also had a couple just straight DK weight yarn options, so that's what I'm gonna try with this yarn. If the gauge doesn't work, then we'll just have to see. We'll have to play around with it, because I think I really want to knit the pattern, because I want to test it out myself, and again, have it as one of the patterns that I could potentially like recommend to people when they're asking for like a good raglan sweater design. So that's my thought. That's kind of like where we're going next. Last week I think I also talked about Advent knitting in the month of December. I have not gotten either of my 2 Advent boxes yet, but still in the back of my mind I like know that they're coming, and so I do think I might edit my fall and winter knitting plans to include 1 at least Advent sweater, maybe 2, but probably only 1. I don't know. I haven't fully decided. I like completely reserve the right to change my mind. And I have to figure out how I'm gonna open my Advents. Anyways, I don't know, is anyone else just like really excited for Advent season and you can't wait to get your boxes? I know it's like the end of September right now. Today is September 28th. When this goes live, it'll be September 30th, and then the next day is October 1st. And so then we're like truly getting into Halloween time. But to be honest, I'm not a Halloween girl. Like I'm a Christmas girl. So that's why I'm thinking about Advent already. But yeah, my other than that, my thoughts on my fall and winter knitting plans have not changed at all. In fact, I think I have added 1 or 2 more columns onto my spreadsheet where I'm like tracking everything about these knits in terms of like gauge, needle size, bust measurement, before and after blocking. I just want to make sure that I'm like collecting enough data to make like informed decisions and opinions about the final garments. And I have to start now, because if I decide on a new metric once I'm on my 3rd sweater, like I don't know if I'll be able to get the info from the first 2 that I'm making. So anyways, it's fun. It's a fun project. I have an engineering degree, so I'm a math nerd at heart. I love spreadsheets, and it's kind of fun. It's really fun to put that to use in a knitting setting. So that's where we're at. Yarn acquisitions. I have none. I have not gotten anything new in since last week. I don't even think, let me see, I don't even think I have any like on the way besides my Advents. I don't think I've purchased any recently. Ooh, I do have 2 candles coming from Wax and Wool. I was on their Etsy and I was like, oh, fall candles, let's get them. Delivered. The one thing that I did purchase was Bella Filato Studios. Gwen had an update recently, last week I think. It was her flower shop collection, and I did not buy any yarn, but I could not resist the hand-poured resin flower buttons. And I got like 7 or 8 buttons coming, so I'm really excited. I might use some of those on my champagne cardigan, if it'll work. I'm not sure if black yarn is like the correct like backing for the clear resin to be able to see the flowers, so it might end up not, they might end up not being on that sweater, but we'll see. I'm excited. I love buttons. When I go to Joann's, Joanne. It's not Joann's, just Joanne, which is very confusing. It doesn't feel grammatically correct. But when I go to Joanne, I actually prefer the button aisle to the yarn aisle sometimes. So that should tell you a lot. And yeah, the candles that I've purchased recently from Wax and Wool, I got a cinnamon chai, and I got another one. It's like a super fall one, but it doesn't say. Oh, maybe because just one of them, maybe that's the only one that shipped. I did buy 2. I think that, oh, I'm not on the Etsy app. I was on the shop app. Okay. Now I'm just like mumbling. Mumbo jumbo. Mumbo jumbo. Wax and Wool. 2 items. What the heck? Purchases. Show me. Ah. Okay. I got the cinnamon chai, and I got the Celtic Sea from her collaboration with Explore Knits and Fibers. There were a couple left on her Etsy, and I said, yes please, I would like that one. Thank you. So, that's what I got. Hopefully that one also ships. We'll see. But yeah, I don't have any other yarn acquisitions or anything to talk about. I have really, like I mentioned before in a couple of the latest podcast episodes, I'm really just trying to be, wow, I can't talk today. I have really just been trying to limit my yarn purchases. I feel like my stash is full. We all know I have plans for this cubby, and I come over and I look at like these 2 cubbies, these 2 right here. This one I like don't have plans for, but it's like a lot of sweater quantities, whether it's like 5 or 6 skeins or 3 skeins. There's a lot of really great skeins in here that I definitely want to use for myself. So I need to figure out what to make with these. In this one right behind me, some of these do have projects planned out for them. Some of them are like spring, summer, like short sleeve, kind of like this, like knit and wool, but still short sleeve garments. And so kind of my very, very unplanned thought is that like once I finish my fall and winter knitting plans, as it starts, maybe we're in like March of next year, it's gonna start getting a little bit warmer. I think I'm gonna make like a similar like spring knitting plan list with maybe 3 or 4 like short sleeve sweater options to knit on those. And then, you know, maybe we'll do a summer with some tank tops and like all of my summer yarn over here. And then I've got all this mohair and Surrey down here that I love, so maybe that'll be like next year. I don't know, you know, I'm just trying to plan out projects and like timelines for my stash, and it's a lot. I have too much yarn, and that's why I'm not buying a lot of yarn right now. So let's see. That's it. Do you want to hear about like life stuff? I feel like I enjoy listening to other people's life stuff on knitting podcasts, but I feel like no one would be interested in mine. TV. Let's see. We just finished Big Brother. I was really happy with who won and how that played out. I thought the final 3 were all really strong. I felt like the jury was really strong, and the person that I wanted to win ended up winning, and it was great. And we finished The Bachelorette. That was a roller coaster. I'm still like a little confused, like who did they end up with? I don't know. But that's okay. We have moved on to Bachelor in Paradise, which I am really excited for. I'm in a Bachelor in Paradise fantasy league with some other knitters, and so I'm really excited about that. the best part for me is that I didn't watch a whole lot of Clayton season, and I didn't watch a whole lot of Matt James season. I didn't watch a whole lot of Michelle's season. And the beach is primarily people from Clayton, Michelle, and Gabby and Rachel's seasons. So there's a lot of people on the beach that I just like don't really know. And so picking people for this Bachelor League has just been like, I recognize you, so I'm gonna click on you. But it'll be fun. And then additionally, Survivor and Amazing Race are back, which are two of my favorite shows. So it's a fun fall lineup. I am very, very patiently waiting for like Netflix kind of Hallmark style movies to come back. Those are my favorite this time of year, and as we get closer to like December, just, you know, the cheesy like holiday themed rom-coms, those are my absolute favorite. So I'm waiting for those to come back. And I'm reading Throne of Glass. I finished Crescent City 2. No spoilers, but you know, if you've heard anyone else talk about it, they always say like the ending was crazy, and I have to agree, the ending was crazy. So I have read Throne of Glass before, it's been a few years, so I'm rereading that whole series. After I read this whole series, I think I want to read from Blood to Ash, I don't know, whatever series that is. That's also, from what I understand, like in the similar vein to like the Sarah J. Maas universe stories. So I would like to read that. But we're going to go through Throne of Glass, and there's a lot of books in this series. And I remember really enjoying it. I remember really enjoying like a lot of the characters in this series. So I'm happy to be reading it again. And let's see. I think that's it. I haven't found any like new knitting podcasts that I've been watching. I've been really enjoying all of my normal ones. So if there are any other knitting podcasts that you watch that I should check out, leave a comment with them down below, and I'll let you know if I already love them or if I'm going to watch them going forward. There was a fuzz on my leg and I thought it was a bug. It was just a fuzz. Alright, now I'm just rambling. So a little bit of a shorter episode today, but some fun updates on my fall knitting progress. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you back here next week with some more progress, and I wish you guys all some happy knitting. Bye!